uncertainties which could cause actual results to differ from those anticipated. Such statements are based on management's beliefs as well as assumptions made by and information currently available to management. Audiences are cautioned not to place any undue reliance on these forward-looking statements in making any investment decisions. Now, let me introduce you to the management participating with us today. We have with us Mr. Manish Kiri, who is the managing director of the company. Mr. Kiri has a bachelor's of engineering from Gujarat University and a master's degree in business management from Wayne State University, USA. Mr. Kiri has more than 2 decades of relevant industry experience and has been the driving force of the company's operations and strategy. Manish bhai, maybe if we could start with a brief history and the background of the company and your journey so far. It has definitely been an eventful one. So if you could, enlighten our participants today on that. Over to you, Manish bhai.
Good afternoon, everyone. Um, Kiri is in the business of specialty chemicals, especially dyes, intermediates, and related chemicals. Kiri has started its journey since 1998 um, uh, with having businesses in dyes, intermediates, and chemicals. Dyes and intermediates are the core part of the overall product offering that the company does. 50-50 is approximate ratio of dyes and intermediates. Dyes are mainly exported till now and intermediates are used domestically. So dyes and intermediates both constitute almost half portion of the company's sales. Export again is also close to half of the total sales, and predominantly export is for dyes and not for intermediates. Kiri has standalone businesses of these products, and Kiri also started Longshan Kiri, which is a joint venture company, in 2009. Longshan Kiri produces only dyes and various kinds of dyes, which is 100% export-oriented unit. There are a lot of interconnectivity in terms of supplies and businesses between Kiri and Longshan Kiri, and hence that company is consolidated line by line when you look at our financials. Kiri acquired Dyestar in 2010, which is the third vertical of Kiri's business. Kiri owns Dyestar, which is world's largest dye company. Last 5 years, Kiri has been going through a legal battle with Chinese partner, which is now ended with the number of orders which has come in Kiri's favor. And Kiri is in the process of exiting from that business through the court order. Till now, the company and even today has been consolidated into Kiri's financials as one line item, which is profit from our minority investment into associate companies. So these are the three verticals of the company. Last 5 years, we have seen that the overall industry has been doing well, and so that's the Kiri. We started out our investments in 2016-17 to strengthen ourselves for environment compliances. And if I give you a recent past of Kiri's investments, we did zero liquid discharge and one of the highest standards of environment compliances on our plants. We also expanded into various product ranges, improved our product mix over the period of last 3 to 4 years, invested into dispersed dyes and diversified our dye segment. At the same time, are already in the process of expanding into intermediates, various kinds of intermediates, and company's future will have much more specialty chemicals and intermediates not pertaining to only dyes industry, but also other industries such as performance chemicals and agrochemicals. So that's the core area where we have been developing ourselves for the last 3 to 4 years. Kiri is debt-free company in terms of its operational debt. We do not use any interest-bearing debt for the last several years. Whatever debt you see on the books of the company has been pre-scheduled to have payments to be made to the banks and the ARCs, which has been going on since last 3-4 years and which is all on schedule. Um, so this is the overall background of the company, and I look forward to further questions which come from you on the part of the company's overall business.
Great, Manish bhai. Thank you for that. You mentioned a little bit about the Dyestar case, and this has become an infamous case. Can you? I understand that there is a case study in a world-renowned global college about this as well. And if you could, maybe give us some background about why this happened, and take us through, the journey of that as well as the current status of this case today in a little bit more detail, please.
Sure. Dyestar started generating profits from 2013 after acquisition in 2010. So first 3 years were for restructuring. And then from 2013 onwards, company has been making consistent profits and one of the highest profits in dice industry globally. Unfortunately, Kiri and the Chinese partner ran into certain disputes. Those shareholders' disputes then compelled Kiri to file minority operation suit against Chinese partner Longshan. And we went through several years of legal battle. And Kiri suffered as a minority shareholder by Longshan in on various counts, on various points, and and rightfully after 3 4 years of court battle, July 2018, court awarded in Kiri's favor. Court confirmed minority operation that Kiri suffered, and court also ordered remedy as buyout of Kiri shares by Longshan. The same order went into appeal. Supreme Court upheld the judgment. Again, minority operation was confirmed, and Supreme Court endorsed the order of buyout as a remedy, and according to which then Longshan has to buy Kiri shares at a fair value. Post that, there was another order which came from the court, which was about mainly valuation criteria and minority discount, again which was ordered in Kiri's favor. Went to Supreme Court. Another again Supreme Court upheld uh, in Kiri's favor not to allow minority discount for Kiri shares. And then the valuation exercise started, and court went through extensive hearings on particular valuation aspects. And that hearing ended as on April 6th this year. Then the closing arguments and closing statements took place. Oral closing got completed on July 1st, and post that the judgment is reserved. So as we speak today, we are waiting for the judgment from the court, and judgment would be an order which will define a number, and that number would be the price at which Longshan would have to. Longshan means Sanda, the subsidiary of Longshan, who is the actual shareholder of Dyestar. Sanda will have to pay to Kiri that number, that value, executing buyout order, which is already in place. We are expecting that judgment will take at least next 2 to 3 months time from the date of the closing of the trial. And we expect that in the next few months, we will have a fair judgment, a fair value coming from the court in favor of Kiri. Just for the knowledge of all of you, that even though Kiri has been uh, consolidating Dyestar post July 3rd, 2018, which is the judgment date, Kiri is not having a right to participate in the profits of Dyestar from that date onwards. Whatever Dyestar performs post judgment date, because judgment date is the valuation date, Kiri is not beneficiary or at a loss to that, either way. And the valuation date is confirmed, which is July 3rd, 2018. Uh, Post that, it is discretion to the court, and Kiri has already argued during the course of the trial that the interest to be awarded to Kiri. And if the court award interest, then Kiri expect the valuation order at a fair value, and and interest to be avoided for whatever time frame that the court decides. So that is the expectation from Kiri's side from this case. There is always a question which has been asked to me, that what if after the order, if what is the next step? Longshan means Sanda has right to go to Supreme Court, and we assume that they would go to Supreme Court and appeal again against this order, which would come as a valuation number and a fair number. Kiri will have to fight out again in the Supreme Court. Time frame for the Supreme Court for this particular hearing may take place between 4 to 6 months, which is as per our earlier experiences of 2 Supreme Court trials. And that would bring us by end of the year or beginning of next year. And this timeline has been there since last 1 year. And fortunately, even though we went through challenging times where COVID related effects um, uh, affected a lot of other cases and a lot of other business parameters, but the timelines of case, and thanks to Singapore court that they diligently continued this trial, completed in time, and we expect to have also order in time. So that time frame and timeline is still maintained, and we don't see any reason for the delay for that. So even though the circumstances in Singapore were also not so conducive, still court continued all the hearings as per the pre-decided dates, given few more dates, and completed on time just before the lockdown started on April 7. So once the judgment from Supreme Court becomes available, we would be at the beginning of the calendar year 2021. And post that, we expect that the order to be executed and honored by the Chinese partner. So that's the time frame of the case, and there is nothing further beyond it. Once Supreme Court gives its judgment on the valuation number, that would be the finality of the legal battle which started from July 2015. So that's the overall status of the case. Any specific questions regarding case in addition to what I said, please let me know.
Sure, I'm sure there will be a lot of questions on this. Let's move on to, Manish bhai, about, there's obviously a lot of participants and the dye and dye intermediates industry in India and globally, as you rightly said, has done very well for the last 5 years or so. What is the outlook of this industry, especially in the onset of the whole COVID-19 pandemic, and also on the rising China trade tensions? If you could shed some light on the industry overall and the outlook
Sure.
on it.
Sure. As on today, colorant industry has two parts. One is dyes and second is pigments. So if I talk about particularly dyes and not the pigment part, we are almost $8.5 billion industry. We have 21% market share as India, as a Indian producers and Indian players altogether. This industry has been growing quite well. I mean, double-digit growth we have observed over the past several years. And conservatively, globally, we expect this industry to continue to grow on a long-term basis, close to 4 to 6%, and certain forecasts are more than 6%. All these forecasts are no longer valid once the COVID started. We are facing quite a drastic slowdown in terms of demand for the industry, because industry is closely linked with the consumer products and with retail such as textile, leather, and paper. All this consumption across the world, as well as we have seen that the processing countries are all going through lockdowns, virus effects, and because of that the business has been very slow, but it is uncertain. Certain parts we have been now seeing better recovery in the last 2 3 months. June is better than May, July is better than June. So export has also started picking up. Certain countries have opened up, their industries have restarted. But if you look at the long-term perspective, I am sure that at some point in time we will have vaccine, we will have medicine. Again, the industry normality will come back somewhere in 2021 or 22. So if you take 5 years or 10 years of horizon, this industry will continue to grow, and it will continue to grow at a decent number, at a decent place. And there are certain key aspects of the industry that I would like to highlight. Mainly, there are only two countries that serve the world. Number one is China, number two is India. So these are the only two countries where actual production and synthesis has been taking place, and concentrated mainly more than 90% of the output of the global requirements is coming from these two countries. One important point is that looking at the current sentiments and current feedback from the world buyers, there is an inclination towards India. I must say that the opening up for India and the preference for India as a comparative to China is inclining towards India, and which is the positive sign. And once the market revive, growth comes back, normality and normal operations resume, I am sure that we would be major beneficiary of the diversion of business to India. So that's being only two countries, that is where the next growth may come as a replacement of some of the Chinese supplies.
Thanks,
Second,
Mani. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
second aspect is the Indian policies which are strengthening, such as Atmanirbhar related policies. And one of the recent ones is to have dyes in India at least 60, 70, gradually up to 80% Indian content. That would essentially promote the Indian producers. It would limit import to a very less amount, and we expect further growth from that. So those policies would help to invest into certain products where there was a Chinese dominance earlier, and the opportunities are opening up again to have the import replacement. New facilities, expansions, or new plants are to be can be constructed in India, which can be profitable and earn good returns. So we are already looking at some of those projects. We have already now in the process of starting second phase of our intermediate expansion, where mainly Chinese replacement products and import replacement products uh, are planned to enter into. So we believe that once demand comes up, we will have better prospects of the new expansions to get better values and returns to us. Um, yes, Anuj,
Yeah,
sorry, you were trying to ask
no,
me something.
I think that was very, very informative. Thank you for that. Can we move on to Kiri? And if you could, give a brief understanding of Kiri's business verticals, if you could dwell a little bit more deeper into that. What are the different types of dyes, dye intermediates, basic chemicals that the company manufactures, our capacities, our capabilities? If you could shed some light on that.
Okay. Um, Kiri, on a standalone business, first I'll talk about the standalone capacities and standalone businesses. A standalone basis, dyes capacities is close to 42,000 ton to 44,000 ton, depending on the product mix. Majority of it is reactive dyes, which is like 36,000 ton. Close to 8,000 ton is dispersed dyes, and some of the acid and direct dyes also. So this is the basket of various kinds of dyes which are used for cotton, polyester, nylon, silk, most of the textile, and some of the paper dyes and leather dyes are part of the overall dyes offerings that Kiri is into on a standalone basis. Um, Similarly, for intermediates, Kiri's capacities is close to 70,000 ton, comprising of various kinds of intermediates. And that 70,000 ton includes aniline-based, naphthalene-based intermediates, as well as other intermediates, para-crystalline-based, para-inosine-based intermediates. So those are, some of them are new ones, some of them Kiri has been manufacturing since years. And again, H acid and vinyl sulfone has been a larger portion of the overall intermediates that Kiri produces. Um, Basic chemicals is mainly sulfur and sulfur derivatives, which includes chlorosulfonic acid, oleum, as well as thionyl chloride. And that is the capacity for that is close to 180,000 ton. Majority of these basic chemicals are consumed in-house, consumed captively in intermediates as well as in dyes. So these are the standalone capacities. If we talk about capacity at the joint venture, it is close to 50,000 ton, which comprises of dyes, uh, generic dyes, some of the specialty dyes, which are based on fluorine chemistry, and it also includes indigo. So joint venture has all three categories of dyes, and combined together is 50,000 ton per year is the capacity there. So when you talk about all these capacities in general, these are decent capacities, significant capacities. So if you look at dyes capacities of JV and standalone together, it is close to 95,000 ton. Now, India's export uh, for the full year for dyes is somewhere close to 180 to 200,000 tons. So we have decent enough and adequate capacities, which are not fully utilized as far as dyes is concerned. But when demand increases, when the business grows in future, uh, Kiri would be able to utilize much higher capacities without any further investment. And our objective is to have value creative growth and value creative sales. We do not wish to be only price driven sales that can expand volume but at a decremental profit. That is not our strategy. So as and when industry growth, export increases, we get more market share, our profitable growth in dyes can take place, which can utilize more capacity of dyes. Utilization at intermediate level is almost full. There is no further room for more utilization. And hence we have been expanding and putting up new plants in intermediate segment. So first phase of intermediate plant with a small number of products already started. Unfortunately, we couldn't get benefit because of the COVID. The plants were in shutdown and the demand was low, but I'm sure we will have benefits once the demand revives. And the major plant is going to start now from 1st of August, which was supposed to get started from 1st of April. Again, it got delayed for 3 months. And this new investment, which is almost completed now, would bring at least on a full scale level 7 to 800 crores of revenue further to the company with at least 18 to 20% EBITDA margin. So that's the target on the expanded intermediate capacities to be utilized when we have opportunity, when the market comes back. So that's the intermediate segment. Right now for this year 2020 21, one important point I like to highlight is that we are not going to do any more capex, and only the finishing part of this specialty intermediate plant is going to be completed. Otherwise, all other expansion plans right now, at least for this year, till we see a better future, we are putting on hold and focusing more on the working capital, revival of business, and supporting the existing customers and existing sales. So that's the measure we have taken to maintain and try to recover business from COVID for 2021 and not go into capex this year.
Great, Manish Bhai. That was very informative. Thanks for that. Manish Bhai, now going back to your financials, as you explained a little bit about that, the company has managed to become debt-free over the years, while also expanding its capacities through internal accruals, as well as maintaining decent return ratios and generating free cash flows. All this while you have had the legal burden of fighting the Dyestar case. So how have you managed to do this?
Well, there are certain factors which helped us during this time. to bring to levels of the fundamentals of our financial strengths which you see today. Number one is the industry itself supported us. So industry revival, problems outside India regarding environment issues, which gave boost to Indian industry, and overall dyes, intermediates, and specialty chemicals uh, perform much better in last 5 years. So one is the support of industry as a whole. Number two is we made our operations very slim and trim. We streamlined all our functions. We spent a lot of time in improving our efficiency during this time, and try to improve a lot of technical improvements at our various plants to improve our yields, to improve our product mix, uh, to, to focus on more margin products. So with those activities and with those operational improvements, we could fetch more returns. So that is number two. Um, Number three, in addition to these two factors, the third important factor is our working capital management, which we improved drastically. We try to make sure that we give minimum credit to our customer outside India, and we change and tighten our working capital by selling a lot of products in cash, and we could do that and run with a very tight working capital, very limited inventory, and very limited credit to customers. And we strengthen our distribution network. We added more distributors who are financially strong, who are willing to lend in the market, and who have good relations with the customers. So with that third factor, I think overall it helped company to change its perspective and to become financially strong. So these are the three factors I would attribute the the success to.
Great, thanks, Manish. That's very interesting. Now before I move to the questions from the participants, Manishji, one last question from my side. Could you please enlighten us towards your vision for the company, along with future growth strategy? You also already talked about your little bit on your expansion plans. Basically, life of Kiri after the Dyestar case also.
Right. So let me just start with your last question, where you mentioned about the legal cost, and it has been a huge legal cost that Kiri has paid. In these 5 years, the amount has been significant, as according to Kiri's profits, and we hope that post Dyestar, and and before that. So as I mentioned earlier, our focus has been to grow from 1,000 crore company right now to 2.5, 3,000 crore company, which is not related to our proceeds from Dyestar or our next expansion. This is based on what current activities that we have been doing. Um, post post Dyestar, we believe that Kiri would have a big jump in terms of entering into a different league. Our plans are ambitious. We have inspirational, looking at the current situation, various projects, and Kiri has vision to become a at least $1 billion and more top line post that, with additional major investments, either in a greenfield projects or it could be acquisitions also. Either way, we have desire to grow and take Kiri to a next level. One thing I can tell you, that it would not be dyes and intermediates. It would be within chemical space, but it would be much beyond dyes and intermediates, because we have reached to the level that Kiri doesn't intend to invest more at the dye segment, and existing capacities are significant enough to, as per the global size and the markets, to earn decent, and to continue with the operations, and that would not require additional funds also. So 5 years from now, if I answer you, we would have to be more than $1 billion on a top line, and even more than that, and we will try to use our next phase of investments very prudently, and try to also focus on what we need in India and how the new changing in policies would help us to strengthen our foot in India. So we will focus on that.
Great, thank you, Manish bhai. That was very insightful, and I wish you all the best. I'm sure you're going to achieve that. Now before I take some questions from the participants, we have many people who have already pre-requested some questions in the registration form. So I will take a few of that, and I also see quite a few in queue in the Q&A link. So for the first question I have is from Nilesh Doshi from India Capital. Assuming that expected value from sender is received is received for the Dyestar, how is the management planning to utilize these funds? Will it be dividends or expansion? So what are your thoughts on how are you going to utilize these funds?
Well, there would be, I would say, uh, three categories that we are looking at right now and company looking at, which I will share with you. First would be expansion plans and investing into future projects, which I just mentioned earlier. Second, we would definitely give dividend. These two are confirmed will happen. Now, it would be exceptional dividend, yes. Third, which 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 company's board will decide depending on how the situation at that time, would be also an option of buyback, right? Because promoter shares would be quite low as well. If the value creation is that, company may look into that. But how much for each of these three category, I cannot say right now because we don't know the number, right? So whether number is, depending on the number, the proportion of these categories will change, right? And depending on, so once we have the final order, once we know how much amount Kiri is going to get, then we can crystallize and give better idea on which proportion is being used for each of these categories of use of funds that we may expect in future.
That makes sense, Manish bhai. The next question we have is by Mr. Raghuvendra Kedia from MH Capital. Are we seeing another legal battle on cards with the Longshan after a possible split in the Indian joint
Well,
venture?
I don't expect to be. I would not rule out the possibility at the same time. But going through a legal battle from both the sides, of course, we don't have interest to embark on another legal battle on Indian JV. And I hope the senses also prevail on our partner side. So once Dyestar is resolved, I believe that we will have to sit together and at least figure out amicably how we are going to address the JV. But it would be premature for me to say what would happen because there is no discussion on the table yet. There is no negotiations which is taking place right now. So once I think both the sides are currently focused what happens at Dyestar. Once it is clear, then our endeavor would be that we settle amicably and as a gentleman we both can sit together and try to figure out how we address that.
What makes you think that they will continue? You obviously you said that it may not happen, but do you feel that they will continue this partnership?
I don't know, to be honestly with you, and I think with a bitterness from both the sides, I actually believe that they may not continue. But what kind of separation takes place, that is not foreseeable right now.
That makes sense. The next question I have is from Radhakrishna Dorodia from Wealthmore Capital. When are you expecting the judgment from the Dyestar case? I think you mentioned a little bit about this already. Do you have any major expansion plans after that? You also explained about this. Or do you have any plans to acquire any other companies? Or is
Yes.
all the things on cards?
So I think greenfield projects, import replacement, as I mentioned, which is very, very keen we are and interesting to look into because there's a huge opportunity there. And there are a host of chemicals being imported today, besides even API. So that's also on the table. Acquisition is also on the table, right? If we get another opportunity like what we did in 2010, right, in the current market situation, where certain again distress situation you will see in the market, and we are open for that.
Just a question on that front from my side. Would you ever partner with anybody ever again to
I
acquire
don't
some?
think so. No, that's out of question.
I
No,
thought so.
there's no way.
Question from Manish Bora from Param Capital is on the Dyestar case. What is the valuation you are expecting? This question comes all the time. So, any thoughts on that?
Well, the number is subjudized, so I cannot. I mean, it would be speculation for me to give a number, right? But if you look at the way Dyestar has performed since 2014 till now, and the history, the already established performance, if you look at, it has made more than $100 million profit after tax every year, right? It's a profitable company. That company is also debt free. It has more than 1,700 patents. It is an MNC, world's best network, 16 plants in 14 countries. So those kinds of um, business which you see globally today, uh, how they are valued, and you can have an estimation on the P multiples that you see on such MNCs, and you can make an estimate what kind of number it could be. 37.57 belongs to Kiri, and I'm pretty sure that uh, court with till now our experience, phenomenal experience, the way court has conducted, the way that till now on all merit based the judgments which have come, right? um, we have full trust in Singapore court, 100%. And based on that, whatever number comes, we strongly believe that it would be a fair number.
Would
Court's
you like
conduct.
to comment on a worst case scenario number? Because I don't think anybody is going to put this question to rest if until you answer that.
Well, I think the range could be much larger. If you know, range could be maybe as low as, I don't know, 200-300 million, or as high as close to 1 billion. We don't know. It can be anything.
Understand. Got it. There's an interesting question from Mutiraju, who's an individual investor. How far is Kiri geared up for Atmanirbhar to avail the benefits from government support? Any investments planned for the next 2 years?
Very important questions, and there are several projects that Kiri has been working on, and lot of uh, high import duties on imports on various products, especially coming from China. To be frankly with you, right? Those those are already imposed by the government. Okay, very swift action. I can count you at least 10-15 products right away. Out of that, Kiri was already looking at 3 to 4, and on a bigger scale, looking at the entire India requirement. So Atmanirbhar are going to make various projects viable, which were not viable earlier. When you look at the Chinese import prices, correct, or the other import prices, those are definitely viable with that protection. It will provide scale also, because we were afraid that what would happen, if India doesn't have enough consumption. We now see a scale in future, scale not only for Indian consumption but also potential to export outside, right? And India has been importing all these chemicals, which amounts to more than $20 billion, right, in India. So we are looking at very systematically, and we are looking at very seriously how we can benefit from this current environment, and the support, tremendous support that government is providing, which we never expected earlier.
Understand.
It will open
Uh,
up opportunities.
sure.
Right.
The
Just to
next
give you an
question.
example, one of the projects was aniline, which was not viable earlier. Now it's viable, right?
Hmm,
Because already almost 40% duty has been imposed
right.
as we speak, as in today.
Yeah.
Plus, Indian consumption can afford a global size plant. Not only this product, there are a host of other products also which fall in that category now.
Sure. I'm taking the questions from the Q&A link now. A question from Karan Adepa. As per Singapore Supreme Court website, there will be a hearing on 21st July on Dyestar versus Kiri. If you could please elaborate on which case is this?
Okay, so what we talked about till now was the main case, right? Was the case of minority operation, and was a case for buyout order. Valuation, the second tranche and first tranche was the liability tranche, which was establishing whether Kiri has a case or not. Okay. So what we talked about till now, and there were side cases. Okay. So one side case was the non-compete clause that Kiri breached, and they claimed 1.2 million something US dollar, and Dyestar was awarded, not Longshin, close to 675,000. So there was a side case. Okay? There are other two side cases where Kiri has filed against Dyestar and Longshin regarding breach of supply agreements, and Kiri to be considered as and treated as a preferred supplier. Also defamation against Kiri, right? Similarly, one more case, which is again a side case against Kiri, was the further non-compete. Okay, so one non-compete is over, and the further non-compete was filed against Kiri. So 21st July date is a date between not Longshan and Kiri, but between Dyestar and Kiri, and that case hearing or the pre-trial conference belongs to further non-compete on certain customers. So I would say that these are the side battles along with the main battles. We focus on the main battles, and side battles would, will have something here and there. It doesn't matter much according to me.
Understood. Suhas Naik ji is asking, how much did we pay for our stake in Dyestar when we acquired it?
Kiri's original.
Correct. Your 37.57%.
Yeah. It was exactly at that exchange rate, $18 million and 95 crore. That is what Kiri invested.
Understood. Question from Rohit Sinha from MK. What is the total market size of Dyestar's market in India? I think you already covered the overall size, maybe on Dyestar Dyestar specifically. Also, what is our market share here, and how much is import in India, and the price gap between imported and domestic? Couple of questions if you could cover. But
yeah. Okay, so the first, the market, as
market
I said,
size of Dyestar.
Total market size is $8.5 billion. And out of that,
is this only dye stuff, or it includes
only dye stuff? If you include pigments and other, it is more. So I'm talking about only dyes, right? Only dyes part of it. Okay. India's export and India's portion in this is around 21%, close to 20%, you can say, right? If you look at Kiri as a group, right? And majority of this dyes which India is strong for, including export and domestic, is reactive dyes, dyes for cellulose and cotton. So the major chunk belongs to reactives, which would be around 55 to 60%. And the remaining dyes would be close to 40%, which includes all other kinds of dyes for all other kinds of colors, not pigments. Pigments are aside. So these are the overall numbers in terms of dyes, various categories.
The question on follow-up on that is, how much is imported in India and the price gap between imported versus domestic?
Well, India import today less than 10% of its dyes requirements. And one of the categories of import is about dispersed dyes, which are dyes for polyester. Okay? Then the dyes for electronics, very high end. Okay? Another portion is hair dye, which we import, which unfortunately India still continue to import, which will be producing. So these are the categories of dyes where we have import still continuing. Based on the new policy, I don't foresee import of acid, direct, reactive, and dispersed dyes would continue much longer, right? I think it will drastically fall. Whatever portion is that will also not continue too long, okay, based on the new regulation which has come. So India doesn't import that much of dyes anyway, but India imports quite a lot of intermediates, and various intermediates India import, right? Which includes phthalic, which includes naphthalene, which includes aniline, which includes beta-naphthol, Tobias acid, right? So import segment in intermediates is more, and which is likely to be replaced by new capacities and new plants coming in India. So that is where, because there are certain dyes which India was producing, for which they were dependent on intermediates to import from outside. So that portion would be replaced, and that's a bigger piece of the pie.
Got it. A follow-up on a different question, but on that trend by Neeraj Mansinga is how much is the capacity expected to shift from China in dyes to India? Any estimate that you can give on that?
If I give a rough estimate, it could range from 30,000 to 50,000 ton per year. That is the dyes portion. Intermediate portion is larger.
Question from Arun Luharka is, what is the fair assessment of time, which you already explained, but by which the entire transaction will be completed, but most importantly, when will the money be in the bank?
Well, you are looking at the first calendar quarter of 2021 at the being optimistic, being little pessimistic, second calendar quarter of 2021. So if I give you a stretch timeline, you take as an absolute date, maybe middle of 2021.
So FY22 as a good estimate that we will get the money in the bank. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Question from Sagar Saxena. We keep hearing about Chinese imports being stalled at ports and being generally discouraged. Have we seen any impact like this? Are domestic prices of dyes rising? And over the medium to long term, do we see this trend of lower Chinese imports sustaining and thus some benefits for us?
Absolutely, which is, as I said earlier, there were certain instances where the products were put on hold at the port, and eventually majority of those products were cleared, right? But detailed scrutiny and examination also took place, because our policies are also changing. Please understand why customs do it, because we are changing our policy on certain contents of dyes. So when India changes its policy that it has to have 60-70% content on India, those policies would be complied with or not. Naturally, custom authorities will have to check on those imports, and that was one of the factors. Majority of those goods on hold were cleared, but we will continuously see falling import. I'm a firm believer of that, looking at the current situation, and sooner rather than later, we would be self-reliant on many of these products, and people will rush to produce those either in existing plants, or if not possible, debottleneck. If not possible, put a new facility. Either way.
And what has been the impact of domestic prices? Another question from similar participant.
There is no impact. There is no impact. Till now, we haven't seen any impact, because the impact has not come not on the account of the cost increase. Okay, because Chinese prices at which these goods have come, especially in this industry and are coming, are not higher prices. They are coming at a lower prices currently, because Chinese have less demand and they are flooded. So uh, they were selling, because of their pressure to India, at a comparatively lower prices. So that is one reason. Second reason, demand is low. So the moment you try to push your prices up to sell in domestic market, right, it is not going to absorb. So we'll have to look at carefully how the demand comes up. And all majority of the dyes players, including Kiri, we have also scaled down ourselves to tune ourselves to the demand. If we continue to produce at higher and higher capacities, and same thing if it is done by other players in industry, then we are also going to flood. Irrespective of what cost increases are, we may not be able to pass on to our customers. So we will have to scale down. Kiri has already scaled down. I'm sure other mature players will also scale down, and gradually go up when the demand increases. And we can afford to do so because we don't have that much liability. Our break-even points are lower, right? Our survival strengths are higher, even though we operate at lower capacities, but we can still attempt to give price protection to our products by doing so.
Understood. What a question from Dipesh is on that line is what is the current price of H acid and vinyl sulfone and expected price trend? So what we talked about the
Right.
expected.
So current price of vinyl sulfone is around 155 to 160 rupees. And if you look at the international market, 2.1 to $2.2. This price is probably lowest, at least in last 20 years, if not 15. Okay. Similarly, H acid price today is running around 4.3, $4.4. Indian prices is ranging between 350 rupees to 360 rupees. Again, these prices are also some of the lowest, not like vinyl sulfone for last 10 years, but these prices are some of the lower band prices. But also please keep in mind that at the same time, raw material prices are also some of the lowest, correct? When you talk about price of naphthalene today, which is close to 52 rupees against 80 rupees, they are also one of the lowest today. Price of caustic, which is 18, 19 rupees, used to be 30 rupees earlier. So similarly, it is fair to say that major raw materials are also running at the lowest levels currently.
Got it. Another question from him is, what is the capex plans for the company, if this year or next?
This year, we are not going to incur any more capex. We have consciously decided that we will put a hold on capex right now, strengthen our operations, and try to utilize our existing investments in a better way, utilize those capacities more rather than putting in more capex, because Kiri will reach to a total capacities that it can earn revenues of 2,500 to 3,000 crore as earlier. So how fast we can reach near to that based on our existing investment is our focus, and not to incur more capex. So this year, no capex actually, no significant capex. It may be a little bit here and there on the environmental compliance level. It may be there where we are finishing our second phase of specialty intermediate plant, but not any significant. It would be a small piece of capex just for a finishing purpose, not a new investment.
Got it. Question from Harsh Gupta is, why did we reduce dividends this year?
Well, to save ourselves, to reserve ourselves for this year, because we are preparing for the best year. Liquidity is at stretch, right? Initially, we were closed because of lockdown. When we restarted, we are also operating with a staff less than 50% today. So we are fighting a lot of challenges, and because of that, plus we still have legal costs continuing as we speak, and
right.
Those legal costs has been also a huge toll on the company, especially in difficult times, if not in good times. So we also need to be prepared for that. Because of these reasons, in the best interest of the company, we have done it.
Makes sense. Question from Pritesh Vora is, can you please elaborate your past collaboration with Dyestar?
Well, if I give you a little bit of history with Dyestar, 10 years before Kiri acquired Dyestar, which was 2010. So I would say from the year 2000, Kiri has been gradually going up the ladder to become one of the prominent and major suppliers through Dyestar, which Kiri did in 2010 before acquisition of Dyestar. So relationship between Dyestar and Kiri was a major supplier of dyes from India, which evolved over the period of 10 years. So that was the earlier relationship. Post acquisition of Dyestar, which is also there in few orders of court, where if you go through first several pages, you will understand the history of Kiri's involvement into Dyestar, because Kiri is the one who acquired Dyestar actually. And then Longshan came into picture by offering them convertible bonds. So Kiri, when acquired Dyestar, never intended to exit from Dyestar. It's only because of minority operation. So Kiri's entry was a permanent entry being a strategic player. It is unfortunate that we passed through this um, minority operation and which left Kiri with no option but to exit from Dyestar and to take help and to seek court's indulgence. Otherwise, Kiri had no intention to exit. Kiri had all plans to continue to participate in the management of Dyestar, grow Dyestar. If I go back to 2009, 10, 11 acquisition time, right, Kiri's plans to increase Dyestar to multifold as a and to become an intrinsic part of Dyestar. Again, unfortunately, we landed in a bad situation where Kiri, till today, as I speak with you, on a mountain high legal cost, Kiri has not earned even a single dollar till today. Kiri shareholders, Kiri has received nothing um, out of the return of Dyestar investment. And that hurts Kiri and Kiri shareholders. And that is where the relationship between the two broke, while Longshan continued to extract benefit, continued to fetch from Dyestar in with all kinds of ways and with various means by transferring patents, transferring assets and loans and you name it, special incentives and fees and management fees and all these kinds of things. So the way Kiri was treated and the way Longshan was extracting benefit from Dyestar was unfair to Kiri and its shareholders, and that is where we ended up in dispute, and that is where the court we took help and we went to court, and that is what happened eventually. But it's unfortunate. Kiri's original plans to with Dyestar were different. What we ended up today is different.
Question on by Rajiv Agarwal is, can you please provide the legal cost estimate for Dyestar court case? So what have we spent over the years?
Well, right now we are in the process of, because just to elaborate a little bit on the legal cost, whatever legal cost Kiri has incurred till July 3rd, 2018, till the judgment date, has been awarded in Kiri's favor that Sanda will have to pay in full. Okay? And that has also been upheld by Supreme Court, right? So Kiri is in the process of recovering that and launching that claim, because it's a time that Kiri has to file the numbers to the court of our legal cost, right? And that runs into I may not be able to give you the number till the document is filed in the court, because it is still in the process of compilation, right? But it will run into double digit millions of dollars. Okay, so it's a very high number only in these 3 years, and additional will be coming from July 2013 till now. To give you intensity of last quarter, as I said earlier, right? If we had not incurred a legal cost in last quarter, our EBITDA would have been same as the earlier quarter. That would give you the sense.
Question from Mutturaju is, if Senda goes for the appeal, which they probably will, to the Supreme Court, what kind of a decision can the Supreme Court take, and when they complete the study at SICC level? So what is the possibility of outcome of that?
Well, SICC would give a number which we believe would be a fair number, right? So that fair number would be challenged in the Supreme Court, right? So either Supreme Court can uphold that judgment that SICC decided number is the right number, and that is a number which is affirmed by the Supreme Court. That is one outcome, right? And second outcome would be that this number is not a fair number, right? And that should be another number, and then Supreme Court can give a number, or Supreme Court can give order to go back to SICC and saying that you then calculate a different number based on these differences, right? So either that number can be upheld or that number can be changed, as simple as that. And that number can be changed either by the Supreme Court, or it can come back to SICC to change the number again. So it can go either way. So there are theoretical chances it can go either way.
Okay. Mr. Suhas Naik is
But
asking.
there has to be a number. Now, see, one thing is for sure, Kiri has to execute a buyout. Kiri has to sell his shares, and Senda has to buy. So all this debate and the appeal and the SICT or SICC or all this discussion is about the number.
Yeah.
We'll have to look at what that number.
It will happen. Just the number is the question, at what value.
Yes, correct.
Suhas Naik ji is asking in the specialty chemical side, which the company hopes to expand in when they do receive the funds. Which segment could be this be? What any indication as to what would you?
It's a vast field, right? And there are huge categories of products. As I said, it would be non-dyes, correct? It could be, and there are various projects and various possibilities that we are examining right now, which is also evolving as the policy is changing by the government based on the imports and things like that, right? But it could be the specialty chemicals could range from intermediates for various categories of products, which may include, for example, agrochemicals, rubber chemicals, pharma. It could be number of things that we may look into, right? And we are exploring the scanner to see what best could be the demand in India. Our focus would be what is consumed here and what is going to be consumed here. And then in addition to that, as an additional bonus, what we can export. So that's how we are keeping our approach in deciding.
Sure. Arun Luharka is asking, there are some outstanding FCCBs. What are the terms of conversions? What will be the total paid up capital if the FCCB is fully converted? Does the promoter group hold any outstanding FCCBs, and what will be the promoter shareholding post FCCB conversion?
If you look at our every quarter results, and if you look at the fully diluted equity, you will see 5.17 or something, 5 crore something shares. So that would be the total equity. And we have been telling all along that you have to take that number as a total equity of the company, right? Number two, promoter doesn't hold any convertibles. These are all restructured convertibles held by external investors, right? And the terms and conditions were defined as per 2000, I believe 2011 or 12 when the restructuring took place. So at the same value, it would, whatever pre-decided value, it would convert, which has happened in the past, which you can see from the records. And the third part of the question was promoter shareholding. Yes, the promoter shareholding will become as low as 27 or 28%. Promoters don't have currently other avenues to buy more shares, right? And promoters' assets and promoters, whatever they had already been utilized to inject into company a few years ago, right? So there is no additional funding that promoters have at the moment to bring it here. So we have to live with that, and that is what is going to happen. And that's the reason, to be fair and to be honest with you, that one of the options was also buyout option where promoters would not participate if anything like this happens.
Understand. Suhas Naikji is asking again, how is the current pricing scenario in the export market?
Well, the current prices of intermediates, as I elaborated, are low, and so the dyes prices are also low. And this scenario would continue, I would say, at least December. The third quarter of this financial year, where we can see some decent recovery. Last quarter was almost, you can say, was locked down. This quarter is also very slow, but gradually improving, right? Where we see some operational sizable improvement would be the third quarter, which would be October to December quarter. And where we see price recovery also. So we can expect some price recovery to come probably in third quarter at the earliest.
Of this Rahul Khandelwal is asking, do we export to China, and what would be the potential impact of the company?
Well, we export to China very small and extremely, because Chinese export to China has always been an opportunist export. It's not a regular export. Whenever Chinese prices go up, import goes there, right? But it has never been a regular export to China. Kiri does export, but Kiri's export to China is insignificant. Import from China of intermediate is much larger than export to China.
Sure. And a follow-up on that is on the margins front, where can we see improvement coming from segment products, and how much improvement? Do you expect any improvements in margins in coming years after the COVID impact, of course?
So after the COVID impact and after we have legal cost addressed, right? I mean, now you will see that the next quarter onwards, the legal cost will go down, right? So with these two into effect, we would see recovery in EBITDA.
Got it. He's also asking, what are the future demand drivers and potential risks to demand?
Well, if you look at all textile, leather, paper, wherever colors are consumed, even pigments like plastics and paints, all relates to retail. So even though there could be temporary increase in demand, which can be due to the stock depletion, or it may be due to filling up more stocks and to improve certain stock levels in certain countries as well as in India. But the real driver of growth is retail. Unless and until you see the recovery in retail and consumption of retail products, right? We don't see a demand-driven significant recovery in an entire supply chain. So we'll have to watch how retail is improving, and then that will be linked with how we can perform and come back to the pre-lockdown and pre-COVID demand.
Understood. Couple questions are coming on the capacity utilizations and the margins that will get impacted because of the scale down operations. Obviously, we are in Q1 and not reported Q1 numbers, so I don't want you to talk about anything which is sensitive in that nature. But broadly, due to COVID, what was the downscale of capacity utilizations, and in the long run, maybe FY21, what is the impact on margins overall? Are we going to see a big impact?
Well, if you look at the capacity utilization currently, or capacity utilization in short term, in near future, in few months, it is very low. It has gone as low as 20-30%, right? Even less than 50%. We expect it to revive, as I said, in third quarter, but even current quarter is going to be low based on what we see happening right now. And if you look at the overall impact in financial terms for the whole year, right? Even if we have lower legal costs this year, even if we are able to, let us say, do 60-70% of last year's profit, I would consider it to be very positive. And I would not give optimistic view till we see that we have real improvement. If we don't have third quarter improvements, then we do not expect profit to come level even 50% of the last year's profit. So we have to be prepared for this year, not to be a good year. I mean, I would love to say, but I don't, and the uncertainties are changing.
But this would be the case for the entire industry also.
It would be the case for the whole industry. It would be the case for even other industries also. So we have to live with that.
Textiles, your client, biggest, obviously,
yes,
they would
correct.
be.
And when you see that various brands and retailers now filing bankruptcies in various countries, even some, not only in the US, even other textile processing countries, there is a linked bankruptcies filed by textiles. So we have to be watchful, and
Sure.
we don't want to take a risk to sell aggressively which can bring us into trouble later on. Okay, so we also want to do a proper due diligence before we gain any new customer, which we don't want to now. So there are a lot of checks and balances we will have to maintain to ensure that in this time you don't want to get caught up with a customer who is going underwater, right? So our team and we are extremely careful to sell, but sell to get money, right? And possibly run on cash. So that also limits your expectations, right? But we believe this is a time that it is more prudent to be conservative in the next 2-3 quarters, keep cash and not to take any risk and any exposure, uh,
Sure.
which is
That makes
unwanted.
sense. Yeah. A few people are asking, and I don't think this is possible, but whatever the SICC award valuation number will be, will we plan to go and appeal that to the Supreme Court again, or are we going to accept that number as it is? Can we appeal?
Well, we firmly believe that it would be a fair number, right? As long as it's a fair number, we would accept, right? If it is not a fair number from Kiri's perspective, of course we will go and appeal, definitely. That right we also have, and that is open on table equally well. Same as Sanda can appeal, Kiri can also go to appeal. And if it is, but it all depends on what number comes.
Sure. There's a question coming from Sagar Saxena with regards to our tax rate. Unfortunately, we've not got our CFO today, but if you can help answer that, what is the reason for the volatility in the tax rate? It has jumped around in a few range in the last 4 years. I assume, what would the reasons be around with regards to this?
See, one was the applicability of MAT, right? Second factor which influenced the tax rate was our accumulated losses, which allowed us also to pay less taxes, right? I think these two were the major reasons. I don't see there was any third reason.
Sure, we can
And
get it clarified further.
we can get clarified if there is a specific question on any
Right.
tax number of any particular year or quarter. Please let us know, and we'll be very happy to give a specific answer on that number.
Sure. Question from Swarnava Mukherjee is, in terms of your specialty chemicals expansion, would it be fair to assume that it will be in terms of the chemistry be allied in your current business, like sulfur chemistry or something similar, to take advantage of integrated facilities, or completely you would probably do something different also?
It would be within chemical space, but we could do completely different also.
Yeah. As you rightly said in your earlier points, you could do anything in the sphere. Pritesh Vora is asking, what was the reason for the large losses in 2013? So this is where the issues happened for us, and while we were acquiring.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest loss at that time was a loss for the derivative transactions, which was more than 200 crores loss, and that is what hit us. And our main problem and struggle at that time was the expansion and acquisition of Dyestar, and parallelly derivative losses where we had hedged our export at rupees 36 or something, and rupee went to almost 58. It was a mistake on our part, and I think that was an era and a time where everyone was selling those derivatives, and unfortunately,
a lot of companies.
Our mistake, we also became one of the victims of that time, and that landed us in trouble, and that was the main reason for the losses.
Sure.
And if you look at the consolidated losses in 2000, because Kiri was a 99.9% shareholder of Dyestar, while Dyestar was going through restructuring process. So 10,010 and 11 and partial 12, Kiri consolidated those losses of Dyestar in Kiri's consolidated statements. So when you go pre-2013, right, those consolidated losses were also deriving from Dyestar's losses.
And those were also before the years where the industry was doing, or the prices were
Correct.
that good for India.
True, true. The turnaround in overall industry came actually post 2014, 15.
14, 15, correct. Another
When
question.
Chinese changed their policies on environment compliances.
Right, that's when the whole
That's
Chinese
when the things change.
crashed out there, right? Question from Nimish Desai is, what is the update on migrant laborers, and are they back, or is there still a shortage being faced?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
On the migrant labor front,
Yeah,
is the
migrant.
company facing any issues
Yeah,
there?
migrant labor problems are still being faced, right? We could resolve it up to 50%, and there are few changes which we are making significantly in our plan. Let me address that. Okay. Um, till COVID came, we never thought that we could have labor issues. Labor was available uh, plentifully. Labor was there, and there was never in mind that for a batch processing plant we would not get labor. But we realized that during this time, and we could bring back 50% of the labor who went out. We sent our buses as soon as lockdown opened up, and we gradually could build that. But the problem is that all of them didn't come back, and maybe they would. Some of them will never come back. So we took certain drastic steps to 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 change our plans to do as much semi-automation as we can, and we set up a target that our labor requirement would be permanently reduced by 30%, and technology is available for that. So as we speak, for the last 1.5 months, we are already in the process of implementing um, such measures in our plant, where certain charging is automated, certain material movement is automated, certain conveyor belts are installed which were not there. See, these are the small improvements in the plant, right? But those will then cut down our total labor requirements, and we will reduce it by 30% permanently. But at the same time, we don't have demand that can require us to have full labor.
Sure.
So even though we could address up to 50%, I would say that migrant labor is not affecting our operations in terms of capacity utilization and in terms of sales, because demand itself is low. But naturally, when the demand picks up, right, we will have to improve and bring more labor. At the same time, we will have to cut our total labor requirement, as I explained. So we will do both when we ramp up.
Sure. Unfortunately, we have crossed our time limit and we are running out of time. I'll take one last question, which is from Muttaraju, is what is happening on the dispersed dice fronts? If you can update us. It's been 1.5 years of the plant being ready.
Yes.
Have we been seeing any revenue growth from that front?
Yeah, actually, we expected gradually. We established our production. We got penetration in certain markets, in certain areas of the world. We got positive feedbacks from our customers. Our product also received a quality appreciation in certain markets. In certain places, we had to improve ourselves because we were new. All those things got over by beginning of this year. And we were about to ramp up our dispersed sales. We were about to utilize full capacity, okay? And that can fetch us close to at least 250 to 300 crore of revenue. Unfortunately, now dispersed dice demand has also become very low, correct?
Right.
But a good thing is that we are there in dispersed dice. Dispersed dice is an area where Chinese import was maximum if you look at the total dice categories, right? So that's a positive sign. And when the market revives, we would immediately be able to increase our production and sales for the established quality products which are accepted in the market now. So that's where we will get benefit. But till now, in terms of numbers, actually, we have not been able to gain that in our financial statements.
Understood. Hopefully you will. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. For the other participants who still have a few questions, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll definitely get them answered. If we don't have the answers, we'll get them answered from the company. Manish bhai, if you could give some closing comments, to the participants with us today.
Well, I think thank you all of you for participating in today's session. And I wish I could answer more questions to you based on your further feedback, and we'll get back to you on your questions front. At the same time, we believe that the industry would revive, and we hope that the industry would revive sooner. I wish all of you to be healthy, to be safe, and I hope that we can have such more sessions in future tomorrow, in future where we would be able to address um, more of your concerns of the industry, of the company, and share our plans with you in a better and detailed way. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manish bhai. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you all participants for giving us your time, and for those of you who've been with us throughout the day, thank you so much for being with us. We surely will be doing many of these events in the future. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Anuj bhai. Thank you.
Thank you.